They may be CLAW family, but nobody's managing to gag these two. What you're hearing is their opinion, unscripted and non-official policy of CLAW Corp, its board or its sponsors.
Off the record.
Master Noel, good morning.
Hey, Sir Roger, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Welcome to our first episode of Off the Record with Master Noel and Sir Roger. How do you feel about this?
I think this is really good. This is going to be a great way for us to get some information out to people and at the same time kind of have a little bit of fun because we usually do.
I think it is going to be fun. I think we play off each other really well, and I think there's a real need for this. And our first session, our first program is talking about the fact that CLAW is a not-for-profit and what does that mean and how does that affect our event by being a not-for-profit, and really digging into how we distribute the funds that we raise and how do we select the not-for-profits that we give our money to. So maybe real quick introductions first. I think
Yeah,
I'd
go.
like to know who the heck you are, where you're at, what do you do for CLAW?
Sure. My name is Master Noel. I am the executive director for CLAW.
I'm in Orlando, Florida, but it's going to be in the 30s this weekend. So, I got the sweatshirt on. If the temperature starts with the 6, we're freezing cold down here.
Yeah, and that's like swim weather for us. So
Yeah. But you've been with CLAW, you're executive director now, but you've been part of the organization for years.
I have been probably around since '09. So I can't even do the math on that. That's a long time.
Yeah.
19, 20. Yeah, 15 years at least. So we had heard about CLAW. I at that time had a fairly large leather family. There's 10 of us. That we had decided we wanted to go to some sort of event, and CLAW really attracted us because it was no contest and it was educational. And then I found out about the charitable aspects of it, and that really, really appealed to us as a family, as a group, because we had been doing, food drives here and putting on different sort of, drag type shows to raise some money. So it was a no-brainer. It was a perfect fit for us. So we showed up 10 strong, and I just never left. And pretty much everyone in my family stuck around for a very, very long time. And it's been quite the ride.
And now you lead the organization as executive director. I got involved in CLAW, I think it was CLAW 17 or CLAW 18.
Oh, you're a baby.
I know. I'm Sir Roger. I live in Orlando, Florida. I'm on the board now, but I started off as a volunteer, and I did the same thing you did, you and your family did back in the day, researched all of the leather events in North America and wanted to make a decision on which one I was going to attend for the first time. I'd never been to any leather event, and I was trying to figure out
Mhm.
which one I wanted to go to.
So why did you choose CLAW then?
Well, exactly what we're talking about today was the fundraising part of it, that it wasn't just an event that you're going to, but you're actually making a difference. So by volunteering, you're helping produce the event. By paying for a package, those dollars help go to our charities. Just the
Mhm.
concept that it was a leather event, but at the same time, it was a fundraiser as well.
Right.
And hearing that CLAW had almost, at that time, it was, over $500,000
Mhm.
that CLAW had give. Now we've given $1 million. We'll get into that in a minute.
Over $1 million
Over
now.
$1
Yeah.
million. So just the concept of, wow, this is a fundraiser, and that CLAW gives back to charities, that the primary purpose of the CLAW weekend is to raise money for our
Very
charities.
much so. Yeah.
And so to me, that was very appealing. Now, at the same time, is there a lot of fun? Yes. Is there a lot of
Mhm.
leather? Yes. All of that still happens at the event, but our primary focus is to raise money, and that's what we do.
I found it very shocking, even this last year when we had to go to the IX Center, how many people were like, "Oh, you know what? We weren't exactly comfortable at the IX Center, blah blah blah." And I, like take a year off, and I'm like, "Well, if we were to go ahead and do that, what's going to happen to our charities?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said,
Yeah.
"Well, you do understand we're a charity organization." No, I didn't know that. The amount of people I realized that didn't understand that we are a 501(c)(3). There's now only one person that gets paid in this entire organization, right? But we're going to get into volunteers a little bit later, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a different show. Again, just the amount of people that didn't know that we are a charity was mind-boggling. So we're
But
working on our website and trying to fix that and educating people,
yeah,
right?
but I think you bring up a good point that we have just think about the event planning in general, right? So you have
Mhm.
CLAW is a ginormous piece of machinery that has a lot of moving pieces and parts that
Mhm.
a core group of leaders and super volunteers work year round
Mhm.
all
Very
happen.
much.
We don't just show up at a hotel some weekend and produce call. Like this,
Some people think that though.
and we love them, and we have amazing volunteers, and that's exactly what they do. They just show up
Yeah.
for the weekend. We can't do it without them. But there's a core group of folks who are planning 12 months out of the year for
Mhm.
Claw. Claw 26 hasn't even happened. We're already planning Claw 27.
That's right. That's right.
And so there's a lot of time and effort that goes into planning the event, and with that comes expenses. So we
It's true.
have year-round expenses, and then we have the expense of actually putting on the event. But the concept
Mhm.
is we put a budget together for the year. We put a budget together for the event. We
Yeah.
raise money at the event either through selling packages, through our
Hmm.
raffles, through our
Yep.
online auction, through the Claw store, through the art, through vendor mart, booth rental revenue. Through meals. So there's a lot of different pieces and parts. We don't
Yep.
make money on meals. I know. I just saw
No,
you.
we lose money on meals.
We
We
sell the
we we
meal
don't
tickets at cost because we want people to come to the meals. That's
we
true.
do, and
Yeah.
we want to create an environment that's friendly and it's a family environment. So I mean, the numbers that you see on the website, and yeah, it's like 95 or $100. Those are not our prices. The hotel says this is what we're going to charge you, and
Yeah.
we pay it,
But
and
it
then
can,
we give meals to volunteers, and then we give meals to other people that really have gone over and above,
yeah.
and so we end up losing money on meals. But that's okay. It's good incentive.
It is, but we do have other forms of revenue where there is
Yes.
I guess you would, for lack of a better word, profit that's made.
Mhm.
But you take
Mhm.
all the expenses of the event, all the expenses of running Claw for the year, and then you subtract from that, or you add up all the revenue for the year, subtract the expenses, and then whatever is left,
Right.
that's what goes to the charities. So to your point about how there's only one person on
Mhm.
salary.
Right
The,
now, yeah.
the more we can mitigate the expense as an organization, and the more
Right.
that we can mitigate the expenses of putting on the event, then the more revenue we bring in, then that means we have more money that goes to the charities at the end of the day. So that really is, I think, what your role, my role, some other core group
Mhm.
within CLAW, that's
Yep.
our role is to keep the expenses of the organization low, drive up
Yep.
the revenue for the event, and then what's left we are able to give the charities. And it can add up fast. I mean, like you said, it's over $1 million we've given to charities now.
So let's talk a little bit about the last couple of years and our lack of ability to give to
Yeah.
charities. I mean, that's being in social media, and people are like, "Oh my God, you haven't given away in so long." So as an organization, as we had stated, there are year-round expenses, and storage is huge for us. Like we're what, almost three, I want to say almost $500 a month in storage because we got a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that we have to bring in at our hotels. So I mean, just add that up over a year, plus other things like using Google Meets for our board meetings and meetings. We pay for that. We have to pay for Google Sheets, and so there's a lot of expenses. I mean, Mailchimp alone is just a nasty bill. But we before COVID were able to put away a little bit of money. So let's say we gave away $50,000 to charities that year, we would put $20,000 away for a rainy day. Thankfully, we did that because when COVID hit, we were done. We couldn't have an event. We still had those expenses.
Yeah.
And we drained our reserves, totally drained them. So we have zero reserves right now. We're running on such a shoestring budget. It's incredible. And we weren't necessarily able to give away money only because we just didn't have it to give,
Mhm.
right? This year, I feel very strongly is going to be a turning point where we're kind of back on track now. Back on track where we're going to be able to identify the charities. We're going to be able to
Yeah.
to give a little bit of money away, and it doesn't matter if we start back like we did at the very very first. I think one charity thing we gave was $4,000. I don't care what it is. We've got to give something back this year for sure.
Yeah,
So.
COVID sure was a ding for us. If you just look at the numbers prior to COVID and you look at the total number of attendees, I mean, we were on a trajectory straight up. We had the
Hmm.
largest hotel room block we'd ever had in CLAW's history for CLAW 19 and projected
Yeah.
for CLAW 20.
Hmm.
And so the momentum was just on our side. We were just growing
Yes.
as an organization. We were bringing in the revenue. We were bringing in the attendees, bringing in the room blocks. And CLAW 20 was going to be the largest CLAW we'd ever had. And then the
Yep.
pandemic hit us. And then I'm sure, we're not the only not-for-profit that got dinged pretty good by the pandemic. We thankfully thought outside the box. We did the virtual claws.
Yes.
But I agree with you because even after our first event after COVID still wasn't quite right. There were still people not comfortable coming to an event.
Yep.
The pandemic still was going on. You still had the mask mandates. And then the claw after that was in a hotel that was under half of it was under renovation. We never had the full hotel.
No.
Then the next year, we still never had the full hotel. And then the
No.
next year, we're at the IX Center, which wasn't a hotel. And so, even
Yeah.
though, in my mind, I look at it, the Claw 26 is our first traditional claw since Claw 19.
I'll agree with that. And we have to speak to, we were dinged pretty hard by the pandemic, and so were the hotels, right?
Yeah.
Personnel over the pandemic, when things were closed down, a lot of personnel changed in all of the hotels. So all of the friendly people that we had in there shifted away or went to different places.
Yeah.
And the whole landscape of how our event was before changed, right? Like all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you can't really do these things anymore. You can't do these things anymore. We're getting way off topic here. Just gonna put that out there. But it does go back to the fact of this will be the first year and hope back where we're back to kind of being normal and being able to raise some money.
Yeah. And I think that by having to dip into our reserves to survive because we didn't have the revenue from Claw 20,
Hmm.
that hurt us with our ability to give to charities.
Yeah.
And then having a half hotel that year for 2 years, that
Yeah.
affected attendance. So I think
Hmm.
one of the things we've learned is our attendees want to be in a host hotel.
Yes. And we would have loved to have them in a host hotel, but unfortunately, because of contractual issues and hotel management and some other things, it was 5 months before the event was supposed to be back in a hotel downtown Cleveland when they're like, yep, no, we're not giving you a contract. And then there we are blown to the wind, like trying to find a place to live. We had no choice but to go to the IX. If we had not done that event, yes, we made enough to cover our expenses. We made a little bit of money to keep us going to the next event. If we hadn't done that, CLAW would have been done.
Off the record.